You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Mark Mulcaster.
That's not true. That's impossible.
You're listening to Making Tracks. This is a live, or as live, episode recorded at Gateshead Unleashed in, unbelievably, Gateshead. I'm your co-host Mark Newbold, and joining me today is a man who's sitting right in front of me with his legs open, wearing orange. Mark, how you doing?
I'm very well. It's cold up north.
Would be sitting like that. How's things?
Things are good. Yes. Yeah. We kind of we came up. Me and my fair lady came up and stayed with friends on Saturday, and we kind of moved over to Gateshead today, so we could do this troop and do a couple of presentations of honorary memberships and stuff, and then we're going to head back south soon, hopefully, to warmer climes. How's things with you?
Pretty much the same. I drove up yesterday, stayed in a very nice room above a pub in Hebden that had a karaoke night on last night.
Ooh.
And I thought it was karaoke. I think it was actually two guys who were singing to a backing track very, very badly.
Ooh, that's even worse.
Oh man, I don't think the concept of harmony had quite reached their knowledge base. But it was funny and people were clapping, so the beer must have been good.
Yeah, well, you know, that's all right then. As long as the beer's good, doesn't matter. Yeah.
How's your week been in Star Wars?
Week in Star Wars has been pretty good. I haven't received anything before you ask, but actually, as a complete lie, I have received some Star Wars books. So I finally received my copy of Ronin, which I think I must have ordered at least twice from Amazon, but either the orders got cancelled or I cancelled them, but it's finally here.
Yeah.
I started tucking into that the other day, and also the DK book, Star Wars Battles That Changed the Galaxy.
Nice.
Which actually is a really lovely looking kind of book, which I haven't had a chance to look at. Apart from that, you know, it's payday week, so I have been spending on the internet, so hopefully those things will come soon, and we can talk about it. How about you?
Oh, what have I had this week? It turned up yesterday, just before I left to drive up here, which was like 3.5 hours drive. It was and I cannot remember the exact title of it, but it's basically the Star Wars version of Homer's Odyssey.
Uh-huh.
It's the poem essentially. So that's turned up to review, which I'm very much looking forward to having a roll through. And the Howard Kazanjian biography about his career, which Rinsler worked on obviously before he passed away. That's there to have a little look through, and a few comics as well. Trying to work my way through those because we're pretty much near the end of Battle of the Bounty Hunters, War of the Bounty Hunters. So we're nearly at the end of that. So let's get those all reviewed, hopefully fairly soon. But other than that, I don't think Oh yeah, I'm working my way through. I'm getting the old. You mentioned the audio books earlier. When they were back in the day on cassette.
Yeah.
So I'm still working my way through those. So I just got Planet of Twilight turned up this week. And I'm just waiting. There's a couple I'm waiting for. One of the X-Wing ones, I think the first or second X-Wing one, which is like really hard to find.
Oh, right.
Trying to find that for something less than an arm or a leg. So I've gone quite nicely through those. But yeah, other than that, not an awful lot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, because actually there's been quite a few kind of Hasbro releases, which you guys have covered on the site, and we spoke about last week on episode 112.
Yes.
Well, all those releases are for the middle of next year, so it feels a bit odd. You know, we're pre-ordering stuff for next year, but there's not a huge amount new coming out at the moment.
No, there isn't. We'll talk about it more on the next episode when we're both sat at our computers, as opposed to in a quiet corridor somewhere in this convention centre in Gateshead. But there is a lot, and it feels. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you went back 6 months, then we would have been talking about that sort of stuff. Going, it's not out till November.
Yeah, probably.
And October, it's Halloween as we record this, isn't it? But it's our 4th birthday, by the way.
Oh, happy birthday
today.
to you.
Yes, to us. Yeah, so 4 years. Can't believe it's 4 years. But yeah, I love getting Hasbro stuff come to the post.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, there's something quite nice now that when you order it from Pulse, it comes in a Hasbro Pulse box.
That's true.
As opposed to some unmarked box from eBay or, or the other option is that you have that that slight kind of reticence and fear that when you open up an Amazon box, what condition your figures are going to be in.
That's the dread, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's something that with Amazon, and we see this all this, I would say with the collective where, you know, anybody who collects these things sees these things on social where somebody's got a box from Amazon and it's a beautiful new vintage collection figure or a Black Series figure, and it turns up in a thin little jiffy bag. And they just don't get that. No. The packaging is part of the presentation.
Well, even that DK book that I got, the Battles That Changed the Galaxy, that I had to reorder that the day it arrived because that arrived in a really thin slip of cardboard and like the spine was all dented in, and it's just like, come on, guys. I mean, you know, surely even if you weren't a collector, but if you got a book that was kind of damaged, you would kind of be like, well, I've brought, you know, paid for a brand new book, not something second hand. Yeah. So but they were good. They sent out a replacement the next day that arrived in perfect condition. So you know, can't complain too much. But I think for the most part,
you're British, you're going to.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say for the most part, I think you know, all the UK vendors now, at least like, you know, In Demand, Star Action Figures, all the cool stuff, and everybody else, you know, Automatic Comics, Ace Comics, everybody, they all know that, you know, condition is everything, and so they spend the extra money and care and attention to ship everything in as good as condition as they can do. It's just obviously these big massive multi-billion-dollar companies don't get it, you know. So
I can speak from limited experience of doing stock taking where I do Amazons quite regularly, and going to these massive places, and the staff are fantastic and the procedures are all sensible and it all makes sense when you're in there, but whether it's, you know, a coat hanger, a Black Series figure or a coat, it's just a product.
It is, just an item to them. Yeah, but it's not to us.
Not to us. It's real, damn it.
Hi, this is Guy Henry, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks. Enjoy.
Being in Gateshead, we've come up here. There's some really cool Star Wars guests at this particular event. I went to Doncaster Unleashed back in July. And listeners to the show will remember there was a bit of audio from Harriet Walter, a bit of audio from Guy Henry doing talks on stage. And at this show, we've got Hugh Quarshie, we've got Jimmy V, we have got Spencer Walding and Keith De Winter. Explain to the listeners one of the reasons why you travelled, because for you this is about a 4.5 hour drive.
It is a 4.5 hour trip, but you know, it was fine because we spent time with friends along the way, and of course your good self is here as well, so it makes perfect sense to come up. But yes, so as listeners should probably know by now, I run Elstree Base, Rebel Legion's UK chapter, shall we say?
That's a good way to put it.
You know, biker terms. And
speeder biker terms.
Speeder biker terms. And one of the privileges I have as CEO is that I get the opportunity to induct actors and people who worked on Star Wars or who are associated with Star Wars. It'd be authors or such, you know, people such as yourself, you know, notable members of Star Wars press. Into the Rebel Legion as honorary members. So we realised that Hugh Quarshie was going to be here today, and what we didn't realise at the time, that he wasn't inducted into the Rebel Legion.
I was amazed when you mentioned Hugh. I assumed being a Phantom Menace guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but then the problem is there's so many Star Wars actors, and at least for me personally, I try to kind of be a little bit judicious with the ones that we approve. I think that really for Rebel Legion they should probably be, with a couple of notable exceptions, good guy kind of characters. So obviously Hugh ticks that box. He has a speaking role in Phantom Menace, so he ticks another box. But it's just obviously finding, you know, people to support it, because there's no point us just inducting everyone. I'd like to try and get members to kind of, you know, donate money towards getting the plaque and the badge, so that they're also invested with the induction. So we had a couple of members, Jace and Paul, they kind of donated money, so we got this beautiful plaque made.
It is lovely.
And a lovely gold badge, which you have one as well. And
which I will wear when I'm not scared of losing it.
And you know, so we came up here and we inducted Hugh into the Rebel Legion. So it was fantastic, and I think he was quite surprised.
He was very surprised and absolutely thrilled. And actually, we've got the audio of it happening. So shall we roll to the audio?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's have a listen. This is Hugh Quarshie speaking to myself and Mark at Gateshead Unleashed, but also his induction into the Rebel Legion.
So we're here with Hugh Quarshie. We're in Gateshead this time round. I lose track of where we are. How are things with you? You've been a busy fella lately.
Yeah, I've got to say, I was one of the people, I guess, who thrived during the lockdown. You know? I left Holborn City after whatever it was, 19 years, I think, off and on. and I really wasn't expecting to do very much, but I knew that they wanted to do a sequel to The Murder of Stephen Lawrence,
Yes.
and I did that, and other things just kept popping up, things that I would love to tell you about, but these days you have to sign non-disclosure agreements. And, although I think I can reveal that there is a sequel to The Railway Children, in which I feature in a cameo role. It's because it is set in the Second World War.
Yes.
And there's also another series of Breeders coming up, and there's a series of Silent Witness coming up.
Excellent.
And one or two other things I've done in between, about which I have to keep stum.
Just stepping back to the Stephen Lawrence drama that you did, I didn't realise that you played the role, played Neville before 20 years ago. So what was it like returning to that? It's not a character, it's a real person, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Returning to that role, if you like,
Well,
all these years later.
the first film was a two-parter, which was directed by Paul Greengrass. And that, I think, set the template for Paul's style, which he then took on to the Bourne movies.
Yeah.
Because he had written a conventional drama script, but after the first day, he asked Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who's playing Doreen, and me, to abandon his script and improvise.
Oh, wow.
Which, of course, dictated first the style of acting, which was very much almost documentary style, but also the style of filmmaking, because the camera operator, who was also the director of photography, Ivan Strasberg, never quite knew who was going to be speaking next. So there were kind of lots of whip pans and handheld stuff, because you understand that was very much a dramatic reconstruction of the murder. Whereas Stephen was a more conventional script of the investigation led by Clive Driscoll. So that was a scripted drama. But what we tried to do was retain some of the, the freshness, the behavioural truth, if you like, of the original. Because I think it would have been the death of.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, just to remind you that in 15 minutes there'll be round 2 of the wrestling down in the basement. That's in 15 minutes, round 2 of the wrestling.
Yes, it's like, ladies and gentlemen, pork pies have arrived.
So when you did the role the first time then, given that it was so free range, if you like, was that liberating? Was that nerve-wracking? What was, as an actor?
Nerve-wracking, nerve-wracking. Marianne had, it was water off a duck's back for her, because she won an Oscar nomination for doing that, precisely that, for Mike Leigh in Secrets and Lies. So improvisation was, it came naturally to her. For me, I learned the lines by rote. I'd studied Neville's accent and his delivery, his mannerisms. That's because, I'm not West Indian, I'm West African in origin, and I didn't want to get it wrong, you know what I mean? So it was kind of initially a bit edgy for me, but it worked pretty well, I think, because my hesitancy as an actor translated into the character's diffidence, which is kind of the story of their relationship, Neville and Doreen's. And I must say, it still is one of the highlights of my career, if not the highlight so far. I was very pleased with Stephen as well.
I was going to ask about that because obviously so many people know him for his comedy, but he's a solid dramatic actor, and in that he was particularly effective. Did you feel that as well?
I mean, we've done a couple of interviews together, and I remember him saying that I normally play characters who aren't very nice, but the real achievement, his achievement, our collective achievement, was in making good people interesting. Because quite often it's a lot easier, isn't it? Villains and bad guys are quite often the more interesting characters to play. But Clive Driscoll, Neville and Doreen, they had a kind of integrity and intensity about them, which was, I like to think, we got right, and which we made very dramatic and compelling. At least I hope so.
Yes, you did. You certainly did. You can't improvise in Star Wars. It's one of those worlds that you can't free form and go off into different avenues with. But if you ever did have the opportunity to return to this fella, Captain Panaka, Where would you like to see him, and what would you like to see him doing?
I'd like to see him as, should we say, a retired commander, possibly leading a guerrilla force somewhere in the mountains,
right?
Still fighting the good fight. I would hope by now he wouldn't be a captain; he'd be a general.
Yes, yes.
That's got a good ring to it.
Yeah. You know, but still, you know, still driven by the cause. You know? And I think, and having a better understanding of the Force. You know, the Force isn't just some kind of mystic thing. The Force is collective.
Yes.
Everybody has an element of the Force in them, and I believe that the Force, we collectively are the Force. You know, so it would be interesting to explore that actually whether someone like Panaka could acquire the Force or somehow channel it. You know, I don't necessarily mean become a Jedi, but at least have a deep understanding of it and perhaps be able to commune with the other elements telepathically.
Yes. Understanding, wouldn't that be great if everybody could understand?
Yeah. And let's be fair, Captain Panaka would look great with a lightsaber.
Yes.
Yes.
I think you've got a question.
Right, so I don't know if you're aware, but we've got some members of the Rebel Legion here today who are, I don't know if you've heard of Rebel Legion, we are a worldwide Star Wars costume group. Yeah. We do everything as volunteers, so we make our costumes and we attend events for charities, and we support lots of charities to raise lots of money across the world. And one of the pleasures that I have as the base commanding officer of the Elstree base, which is the UK's Rebel Legion, is I get to induct honorary members into the Rebel Legion. So I have a few members here who would like to present with you a plaque and induct you into the Rebel Legion for your work as Captain Panaka.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'd be honoured. So
let me grab them.
Oh, these are there. Okay, well, of course they have to be, yes. Princess Leia with the bagel hairstyle. Or the pretzel hairstyle, I beg your pardon.
They're space buns, if we like to say.
Should we not get a photograph of this?
Absolutely. So,
wow, look at that.
There's
look at that.
A plaque for you.
My goodness.
And what we like to do is we like to give all our honorary members a gold badge. So when you do other conventions, it doesn't matter in what country.
Wow.
If you wear the badge, you'll find that all the Rebel Legion members will come up and say hi.
I'm honoured. I'm truly honoured. This is really stylish.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? I haven't got one. In fact, Mark doesn't even have one.
No, this is great. Although I have to say, this looks like a pair of lungs, doesn't it? This is great. This is fantastic. Thank you very much.
Congratulations and welcome to the base.
Thank you very much
indeed. Can we get a photo with you?
Sure, absolutely.
Do you want to take a photo? Or
I certainly would.
Get one for Fantha Tracks.
So now I can be the first person to interview Hugh Quarshie after he's been inducted into the Rebel Legion. How does that feel?
No, I am actually honoured because I've said before it took a while for it to, I suppose, to dawn on me. But this kind of matters. So the fact that people here continue to live in this imagined reality.
Yeah.
You know, it would be so easy to laugh at it or to take the piss, but you must respect it.
Yeah.
You know, because it is doing the job in a way of that religion has failed to do, namely bringing people together. You know, it is a kind of a shared collective imagination.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty healthy. I mean, there was a time when I was a bit sceptical about it, thinking, you know, that George Lucas had somehow dominated our collective imagination. But individually, the way that people have gone with it, you know, there was one guy who came, I was at a convention in Munich a few years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a guy walking around in a pink tutu with a pink Darth Vader helmet and calling himself Martha Vader. He was LGBTQI and you know, and just kind of parading the rainbow flag. I thought, you know, so it was a way of using the franchise to a good social end. You know? And I'm all in favour of that, you know. And I think the people that I have met, of course, there's been a kind of dedication bordering on obsession, bordering on fanaticism.
Sure.
But for the most part, I think it is. Yeah, it's a healthy fanaticism. This isn't like QAnon.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think I'm hopeful that you guys go home and actually take off your costumes and think, what's for supper?
Yes.
So yeah, it's all. I respect it and I admire it, and I just really do applaud your dedication.
Truly. And yours.
So, well, congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
For everything in one location, daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds, bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
So you must have done it in your time in the Orange.
Yeah.
Quite a few inductions.
I've done quite a few, but also I don't have to be present to do them. So sometimes I think one very fertile ground for honorary inductions was Burnley, which I've never made it up to, so there's been quite a few up there. Yeah. But yeah, I've done quite a few over the years, and for me, unfortunately, a lot of the big actors were done before my time. And in fact, actually, Star Wars Celebration in 2007 was when we hit a lot of the main Star Wars actors like Mark Hamill to be inducted into Elstree Base. Yeah. So those all kind of happened already. Whether or not actually Mark Hamill remembers or not is another matter entirely.
Mark, let us know. Do you remember it?
Yeah, exactly. But so it's but it's always a pleasure, and generally I think most people are quite touched by it, and I think Hugh was then, so it's good fun.
Yeah, when you do these things, obviously there's a lot of planning and things to be organised, and you want it to feel like a surprise, but you've got to have your people ready without looking like they're loitering. What are the mechanics of doing that? Because it was easy for me. I'm just chatting to the guy, doing a bit of an interview and trying to keep it, hand it over to you to do your bit.
I mean, there's one of two ways of doing it, and depending on the event and what have you, and depending on the relationship you have with the organisers, it can either be a little bit of a guerrilla kind of like
ambush.
Pretty much ambush, and just kind of jump on and just whenever they're at the table and they've got spare couple of minutes, just go up and just do it. I mean, that's how we inducted James Arnold Taylor. I think it was MCM London a couple of years back.
Oh, sweet!
And James was great. In fact, he gave us a ton of autographs to that we could then actually auction off for charity and that. So that was kind of that case. But then other ones when we did some of other actors, we speak to the organisers and they kind of will say, well, don't do it at a table. Let's kind of do it somewhere else. It's a bit like when you inducted Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes.
That was kind of half and half, wasn't it? You kind of had to wait. But you kind of got it in a private area, so you can kind of do it and stuff.
Was it London Film and Comic Con when you got me? I was interviewing Kieran Gillen and a few people on stage, and then you came on stage.
Yes, that's right.
And did Kieran, which was very cool. Yeah, the Kathleen Kennedy one. She's still our only honorary Fantha Tracker.
That's quite an honour to have, to be fair.
It's pretty cool, especially like this weekend when we're 9 years past.
Yeah.
The Disney sale and such, the purchase, I should say. Yeah, that was a quite an interesting one to organise. But yeah, with you guys, because there's us just in our Fantha Tracks shirts.
Yeah.
And we gave her a Fantha Tracks shirt as our honorary member. I'm sure people don't believe it, but there is a page on Fantha Tracks that's got the photographs and everything, so go and seek it out if you want to find it. But for you, obviously, you're in your X-Wing.
I'm in my pilot costume.
You're in your pilot costume. Now, on the subject of that, is that Snowspeeder or X-Wing?
I don't have a jacket. I've got the flight vest on the correct way, because the flight vests on Snowspeeder's pilots were worn backwards,
right?
Which is always a little bit of a weird
thing. I didn't know that.
Did you not?
I did not know.
Yeah, so you can tell because on the back of a flight vest there's like a black buckle, and there's not really seen it. But obviously you're not going to necessarily see it because of where the chest box is and stuff. But yeah, I haven't done a Snowspeeder pilot yet. Just it's on the list. But as with everything, you've got to balance up new costumes versus keeping your existing costumes in good repair and nick.
Yeah.
With also then A, paying the bills, but B, your other kind of Star Wars habits and collection things. So it can be a bit of a juggling.
Well, there's a question then, as we are just riffing here with no computer screens in front of us. Lots of Star Wars properties about to come. I'm thinking Andor, and stuff that's really going to, obviously anything Imperial, is going to tick the boxes of the five of us. And the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, obviously, it's great for the Mando Mercs. Yeah. For yourselves, you've got Andor coming up, which is 5 years before Rogue One, so 5 years before A New Hope, basically. Yes. So our expectation as viewers and fans, but your expectation in the realms that you do is, wow, we could be looking at a lot of new costumes and clearing a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, but even like with the Mandalorian, because what we kind of do, if you kind of think that, like with the Rebel Legion and trying to kind of assign what costumes appropriately fit us as opposed to the like for 501st.
Yeah.
If you take the Mandalorian, which is a really unique kind of example, up to I think like chapter 3 of the first season, I think he's considered 501st because we don't know where his loyalties lie, and he is basically just being a bounty hunter.
Okay.
So he fits perfectly in with the bounty hunter guild for the 501st. But then after that point, that costume can become cleared with the Rebel Legion, and obviously the Beskar versions later. That's very much a Rebel Legion costume,
and that's a delineation that's quite clear because I've never thought of it. That's totally right. Yeah.
So and it'll be down to like the different type of different slight changes in the costume because that costume slightly evolves over time.
Yeah.
Now you take someone like Andor, for instance, we're going to expect obviously new Andor costumes. He may have a new one every episode, or we may have the same one depending on what he's doing.
Yeah.
But also we kind of semi-expect that you'd think a lot of those supporting character costumes for like background rebels and stuff like that, if there are going to be background rebels, they would probably be something that we've either seen on Rogue One already or something very similar.
Yeah.
So that will have a lot of top stitching and a lot of kind of stuff which makes it really difficult to recreate, which is difficult for those who want to jump on some of these costumes early and kind of get them kind of out there.
But for you, with these new shows coming on, I mean, right now, we were just sort of talking about it earlier in that we're in that period now between series and between films, especially films. And obviously got Rogue Squadron coming, so that's going to be a great jumping on point for new, especially for you.
Yeah.
Do you find it is kind of a fallow period in that sense, isn't it? Until Book of Boba Fett starts, we just kind of feel like you sort of know kind of what the focus of that will be, but who we knows? Don't really.
No.
Because, like you just said in The Mandalorian Season 2, you get the tank episode, the episode on Morak, with the tanks, and so you see the Imperial tank commanders got characters there, and there's other, in Season 1 of Mando, the Rebel Fleet Trooper, the security guy.
On the prison ship.
The prison ship,
exactly. Yeah. So that, even now, with the 501st, there's like Mandalorian era stormtroopers and biker scouts.
Yeah.
Partly because of costumes, for whatever reason, and I don't actually know a huge amount about it, but they're not worn exactly the same way they were worn in the OT. Whether or not that's just by accident or to kind of maybe show again this delineation from Imperial Order to remnants and stuff.
Sure.
Beyond the fact that a lot of the costumes have got weathering, damage, and stuff like that. Like knee plates are upside down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That could just be one of those production things that hasn't been spotted, or it could actually be something that's been intentionally done to kind of show that there's a slight delineation between the two.
Do you think that's important then? I'll pick Boba Fett as a great example, because you cosplay him, and we've got Matt involved on the site, who's obviously a Fett expert. So you've got Fett in Empire and Fett in Jedi.
Yeah.
To somebody like me, who's not an expert in the details and the sort of the granular stuff, I look at Boba Fett and I just see Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I know you would look and go, that's Empire Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I know that's Jedi Boba Fett, and you can pick it out straight away for various colorations, various whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important then to have people involved in the production, like, example, when Jeremy Bullock got his Fett armour and started wearing it at events, I think the first time we wore it was Toys R Us in 2013 at the Black Series launch, and then we did the whole caravan thing in the Yada Yada, and he went on stage. Matt helped him get into the armour because Matt knows the armour really well, he knows how it goes on, and so on and so forth. Is it important to have people who know that, well, this biker scout should have that tucked in, not over the boot, or whatever it might
absolutely.
be?
Yeah, totally. And it needs, for the 501st, it's it needs to be kind of at the global level, but also it then has to kind of follow and filter down to for garrison level. Same with Rebel Legion. You need the detachment commanding officers who run, let's say, the pilot squadron for whole Rebel Legion to pick up these things, and then also you need people like such as myself who runs the squadron in Elstree Base to be able to to kind of pick up those things as well. But it's amazing what kind of how detail orientated a lot of the members are anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of it's that that kind of club, but actually it attracts people who are very detail orientated. So therefore, even if you haven't spotted it, somebody else bloody well will have, and will let you know. So
yeah.
So
well, you welcome. I'm sure you welcome that detail.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, for instance, with like all the Star Wars exhibitions, costume exhibitions and costume books and stuff like that, it's given us great access to some of these costumes and stuff like that. For instance, one of the things that when I cleared my Boba Fett with the 501st and UK Garrison just before Celebration Europe 3, you didn't have to have your armour attached to the vest via the kind of the same kind of screen accurate bolting system, which is an eyelet on the vest and then a bolt screwed through. You just use Velcro, which is what I did. But to get to a certain level of level 2 of the clearance, you have to have your armour attached to your vest with that bolted together. Now, no member of the public unless they actually take a look at your vest, will ever see that. No. But it's just one of those things. It just goes to show that the extra level of attention to detail that we try to kind of encourage with all our members, be it new members or old members.
Hi, this is Hugh Quarshie. I've had great pleasure in recording this interview for Fantha Tracks.
One of the other people we spoke to whilst at Gateshead Unleashed was Keith De Winter. Wonderful fella. We spoke to him before at Burnley. He was in The Force Awakens and he was in The Last Jedi. So here's our little chat with Keith De Winter.
It's just nice to be back doing conventions.
And how have you found it? Because obviously we've all, us as well, we've had a break from it for a while because of the world. How have you found it getting back into this? Does it feel very familiar again straight away?
I think if anything, it's hoping that people will come and actually remember who I am. Because I think even I've forgotten who I am. But people are, I'm just as excited to be out there, doing anything. I know that fans all over are just dying to get back into seeing everybody. Just enjoying themselves. All the people that are dressed up in the cosplays, they're enjoying themselves, they're having fun, and that's what it's all about.
Well, one thing we've found, just looking around, even in the 18 months since we've really done events, there's different cosplays here, there's other properties have come out, shows that have evolved and come around, and all of a sudden it changes the landscape.
Exactly, because the one thing that you're seeing is, like you say, all these new things, and unless you've been completely hidden away over the last 18 months, because people have been glued to the to the TV, watching all these shows, whether it be on Netflix, Prime, and what have you. So, even I've been doing that, just sat at home going, right, what's on now? Let's binge watch this. But to now see people that they've had that time, and then to go, I'll make another creation. And that's what they're doing. So it's great to see the imagination of all these fans.
We're what are we? 6 years? 6 years past Force Awakens now, aren't we? 7 years since you made it.
Yeah, flipping heck, it's just gone by so quick. Because that was the first time I did meet you. It was in Burnley. That's right. At my first Comic Con.
Yeah. Was that your first?
That was my first one in Burnley. Yeah. And that was just that blew me away. And I thought, oh great, this is what's to come. And it's been quite a ride.
So could you have imagined, we asked this of a lot of folks who've been involved in it a long time, could you envisage even then thinking, in 2021 I'll be sitting in a room somewhere talking about my Star Wars experience?
I don't know really. I suppose to say, yeah, of course it did. I don't want to sound...
I know you mean.
But I'm just happy that I do get invited to these events. People do want to to meet me and talk about my experience on these films. So I never take it for granted. The fact that even after this last 18 months, thinking, will there be that doorway opened up? Will they still welcome me back in? And they have done. So yeah.
So speaking of your memories of the time, what's your fondest memory from making The Force Awakens?
My fondest memory? Besides the friendships and everything that I picked up, they were amazing. But I suppose on the filming side, it would be being with Carrie Fisher, and because my first day of filming was a scene with her. A scene she was in, and my last day of filming on The Force Awakens was with her. And she was a remarkable woman anyway. She was just so lovely. So that will always be, and I vividly remember that filming day with her, and what it was like. And it's one of them where you think, I wish they had the cameras on, just there was something behind the scenes to show how we were interacting with each other. Because I was in costume, she never saw me, without the head on. So I'm there, she's talking to me, and I'm trying to shout to her. And so on this little conversation, I'm thinking, this is just so surreal. I'm talking to Carrie Fisher. I couldn't see her because with Goss Sewers, there was no vision whatsoever. And she was just chatting away to me. I'm like, wow, this doesn't get any better than this.
And Last Jedi, obviously, you're in that amazing Canto Bight sequence.
Yes.
Was that as full on and mad pack and crazy as it sounds? Because it sounds like, to film that was something else.
That was an amazing setup, because that was filmed on the James Bond studio. And so for me, because I'm a big James Bond fan as well, so being on that set, all I wanted to do is go, I'm Bond. All the time, even when I was dressed up as him. But the amount of creatures that were on that set anyway, again, just amazing. And there was the stunts that were going on. It was great to be a part of some of the stunt scenes that were going on. Because remember when the Faddies come smashing through? Well, we were at the top, and there was myself and one of my other friends, and we were amongst all the stunt performers. And when we supposed to come crashing through, landing on the piano, we were close by and we had to run. So I'm a stuntman now. I'm a stuntman, stunting number one here.
So what's next on your plate? What's next on the agenda? After, obviously, Widow Twanky?
After Widow Twanky, I've got a couple of Comic Cons that are lined up for next year. So that's nice. And it's a case of who knows what's on the cards. I've done a couple of bits this year. Filming that I can't talk about, I'm afraid. Who knows what's... the hope is that by the time, this year's out of the way, things will be more back to normal.
We talk about this on the show a lot. We're in a world now, there's lots of Netflix shows, there's a lot of Amazon shows, lots of streamers are doing
the thing is, there's a hell of a lot of productions going on. Going on now, and there's a hell of a lot that are coming up. So it can't get any better, can it? Really. It's definitely got to be better than the last 18 months. And it's difficult because the one thing you don't want to do is harp on about the last 18 months, because we've all been there. It's like, and you don't want to remind people about such a dire time. You want to kind of put that behind us. The one thing that we do at home, we'll be talking about something, and we can't believe it. It was, it was last year or if it was this year. It's like that time.
It blends together.
It does. You don't know where you are. So get this year out of the way, and then we can all, really can start to really put everything out of the way.
Awesome. Well, thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time.
No, you're welcome. It's always nice to meet up with you again. You take care. Nice to meet you.
So that's all we've got for episode 113 of Making Tracks. Recording it in a corridor in Gateshead. Next week, we'll be recording it in Croydon.
In a Masonic Hall in Croydon.
Is that where it is?
That's where it is.
Okay. Secret handshakes. Okay.
For smugglers, which is a kind of a charity convention, and there's quite a few Star Wars signings there. I think 15 or 16.
I think there is, and if I remember correctly, we've been told that we can speak to most of them. So I think next week we will be very busy.
Very busy.
We'll have loads of audio, which will go out over multiple. No, we'll just chuck it all out at once. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to that, and seeing you again next week. We're getting some miles in, aren't we?
We are. Yeah, it's like the Fantha road trip, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds like something that should happen. We'll do that one year. So, as always, I haven't got my notes, so I'm making this up on the spot. Can you hear that?
Near Imperial March.
I love it.
I think it's time for us to go.
It's meant to be. They've given us our outro music. Tune in to everything Fantha Tracks. Desert Planet Discs, Planet Layers back very soon. Cannon Fodder. We had an interview with Cavan Scott last week, which myself and Brian recorded at MCN London. Fascinating chat talking about the Horror Republic, the end of Phase 1, all sorts of other good stuff. And Planet Layer will be back very soon. As I said, Start Your Engines will finally launch. I've been talking about it for about 2 years. So the Fantha Tracks radio network is looking very, very healthy at the moment. Anything on social media, it's at Fantha Tracks. You can you know where to find us. You're listening to this, so just head to SoundCloud or head to Audible or head to Amazon or wherever you go for your podcast. Give it a listen, give it a like, give it a share. Tell us you love us. Send in the listeners' questions because we've run out of listeners. No, we've actually got one.
Have we?
We have got one. We haven't got time today, and we definitely won't have time next week, and we might not have time the week after because it's MCM Birmingham.
Oh God!
But maybe the week
at some
after
point
that.
soon. Yes,
some point soon. Maybe we'll just do an episode on its own on a Thursday night just to get this listeners' question done. But send your listeners' questions in. We're always looking for new stuff. I think that's me done.
That is you done. That's me done. I've got to get out of this pilot costume. But of course, if anybody's listening and doesn't follow either myself or Mark on Twitter or Instagram, Mark is at prefect_timing and I am at mmelcaster. You take care, Mark. Good to see you, buddy.
And you, pal.
Look after yourself. I will see you next week.
You will.
And until then, stay safe, take care, and always let the Wookiee win.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's another episode of Making Tracks.